Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for being with us today. My name is Lynn Ribar. I am the Director of Graduate Admission here at Point Park, and we're very fortunate to have with us today Professor Richard Linzer, who is the Program Director for the Criminal Justice Administration Program. Professor Linzer, I don't know if you would like to say a few words.
Sure. To those who are tuning in to watch this, welcome. I'm sorry that you couldn't do it live, where we couldn't ask, and you couldn't ask and we couldn't answer a lot of your questions, but certainly feel free to contact either Ms. Ribar or myself at any point if you're interested, if you're applying, if you've applied and been accepted. I mean, we certainly want to be able to answer any questions that might be out there. And certainly, let me introduce myself. I'm Richard Linzer. I'm the director of the program. And I have been with Point Park since 1999. In 2015, I became the full-time director of the program. I was a career prosecutor. I was an assistant DA in Allegheny County for 6.5 years. I was senior deputy attorney general of Pennsylvania for almost 20 years. I was senior counsel in the Office of Counsel to the Inspector General for Health and Human Services with the United States Department of Health and Human Services. And I was in Washington, D.C. And so I bring to the program a lot of real world experience. And hopefully that the program is something that doesn't appeal to everybody, but we certainly hope that it appeals to you.
Thank you. Yes, so my name is Lynn Ribar. I'm the Director of Graduate Admission, and I am the admissions counselor for the Criminal Justice Administration Program. So anyone who inquires, applies, is admitted, registered, I will be the point of contact for you throughout that process. And Professor Linzer also will be involved as well, because he's always eager to help out with our prospective students. I've been with Point Park since 2003. And I do have a background in both law and education. I earned my law degree at the University of Pittsburgh, and I am licensed to practice, although I'm in education, so I am not practicing. And I've worked with this program for a couple of times over the years, so I'm always happy to help out our criminal justice administration students. It's a great program for students looking at criminal justice, law enforcement, social services. We'll get into that as we go along. So the main points we want to cover today are just generally the benefits of graduate education at Point Park, why Point Park is a great choice for your graduate study if you're looking to do that. We'll also address quickly the admissions process for this program. It's pretty straightforward. And then Professor Linzer will talk in a little more detail about the program itself, the curriculum, the coursework, and we'll have some comments about our alumni as well. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to talk about just generally is the benefits of graduate study at Point Park. Point Park has always been an institution really focused on the needs of adult students, both at the graduate and the undergraduate levels. We truly are student-centered. Everyone at Point Park, faculty, staff, everyone is focused on creating a positive student experience and a really strong learning community that we're excited to welcome students to. We do that in a number of ways. First of all, we have very small class sizes, so you will not be just kind of a number at Point Park. You will know your professors and they will know you. You'll be able to interact with them on a really personal level and benefit from the experience that they have. Our faculty are all have extensive experience in the fields that they teach. They have deep connections in their communities and in their content areas, and that will all benefit you as a student learning from them. Our programs are really focused on helping students achieve their career goals and take those professional steps that can help them both professionally and personally. So our programs are very real world focused. That's very important at Point Park. We also strive to create schedules that fit around your life. So the vast majority of graduate students at Point Park are working and taking class at the same time. There are some who are not. We have some full-time students who are exclusively students, but they're probably the minority. Most of our students have busy lives, jobs, families, and we really try to make sure that our programs are doable for everyone, including busy adult students. Our campus is in the heart of downtown. It's really a dynamic and exciting environment. We've done a lot to beautify our campus, expand our campus, and we're excited to be returning more to it this fall. As you know, the past year has been rather difficult with COVID protocols. We look forward to being more back on campus this fall. And we do have a number of amenities that graduate students are welcome to take advantage of, including our student center and various student community areas as well. A couple of other points to make. We have our Career Readiness Center, and that is an organization that, again, is focused on helping you achieve your career goals, whether it be looking over a resume, interview techniques, job postings, networking. The Career Readiness Center staff are there to help throughout your career. So you may have graduated a couple years ago. You're looking at a new position or getting into a new field or organization. They're there to help, and they'll be happy to assist you with your career, with achieving your career goals. We also have a Graduate Student Association. This is an organization that you can be a part of while you are a student, that allows you to network with graduate students at Point Park and also around the city of Pittsburgh. And they have a lot of events and different kinds of programs that are geared to graduate students and graduate student success. So overall, Point Park has had graduate programs for many years, and we feel we create a wonderful environment for graduate students to learn and grow both professionally and personally.
I can also tell you that our faculty also works with career assistance, situations. Just this past week, I received communications from a former student who was telling me that he was having a change in his professional direction. He had been a police officer, and now he wants to go into more of a law enforcement / social service position. And we spent some time together talking about it, talking about what the best approach would be and how to make contact. So I want you to understand that the communications that you establish when you're here as a student don't stop. And it's not just from career readiness, but also from the faculty as well.
Very true. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Linzer. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to focus a little bit more specifically on the Criminal Justice Administration program. For students who are interested in this program, usually, sometimes the first step is the students inquire via the website, and then we'll of course follow up with you. Other times, when students are ready to begin the application process, this slide shows an overview of what is required to be admitted to the program when you're ready to take that step. You can apply for free online at our website, pointpark.edu/apply. There's a pretty basic online application you'll fill out that asks for basic personal information. During the application process, you can submit the documents that are needed to admit you, or those can come later. So do not feel you have to submit everything at the time of the application. In fact, we usually encourage you to submit the application, and you can always follow up with documents later. But once the application is submitted, we'll have you in the system and we'll be able to reach out to you to assist you through the process. The documents that are required for admission to the Criminal Justice Administration program are listed here. We will need official transcripts from all post-secondary institutions attended. So you will want to request that your previous institution send transcripts to us. Typically that's done electronically today. There are a few schools that are still mailing them. We can handle them, of course, either way. Any documents should be sent to gradadmission@pointpark.edu, and that address is also available on our website as well. In addition to transcripts, we would also request a one-page statement of purpose. This is kind of an overview of why you're interested in the program, why you think it's a good fit for you, how it will help you achieve your professional and personal goals, anything you want the admissions committee to know about you. This will all be reviewed. So this is your chance to kind of get a sense, for us to get a sense of who you are and whether the program is a good fit for you and vice versa. We also request a current resume, just as if you were applying for a job, so we can see, we can get a good summary of your background and your experience. Finally, we ask for 2 letters of recommendation. These should be academic or professional, so previous professors, supervisors, colleagues, work colleagues, anything along those lines. Someone who can speak to your ability to succeed and perform at a graduate level of work. Once you have completed the application and all of those documents have been sent to us, You will pop up on our radar as a folder complete student, and then we'll move quickly to send you through the process. And of course, as mentioned, you should feel free to contact your admissions counselor, which would be me, at any time through the process. If you have any questions about, did we get a document, you have a question about how to send something, you can, as I mentioned, during the application process, you can attach your statement of purpose in your resume. And if you know who's going to recommend you when you're doing the application, if you have an email for that person, and if they're comfortable doing email, you can enter that email address in at the time of application, and that person will receive an automatic email from our admission system saying, this student has asked you to recommend them. They're applying to Point Park University. Please click the link and complete the recommendation online. So that makes it very simple for your recommenders to do. If you don't have their email address, or you want to speak with them first, or for whatever reason, you don't have to insert an email there. You can contact them yourself, and they can either write a letter on their letterhead, or we can provide a form that they can fill out, whichever they would prefer. We're not particular about how the recommendations come. So once all of those documents are received, then we will send them off for review, and Professor Linzer heads up that process of reviewing all of our applicants for admission. I don't know, Professor Linzer, if you want to make any comments on anything regarding the admission process.
I think you have to understand that the statement of purpose is really something that gives us insight as to why you want to be in this program. Occasionally we get statements of purpose that are not quite as focused as maybe we would like them to be. And sometimes we will go back and ask for some additional information, but it's really an opportunity for you to explain why you think that you would be a successful graduate student and how this program is going to help you. Also, as to the recommendation letters, make sure that it's somebody that knows you well. That doesn't mean your aunt or your uncle or your cousin, but certainly somebody who works with you and can give you a really honest evaluation. We can always tell when they're a really good recommendation, because if it starts out something like, well, I've worked with this person for a couple months, we know that they don't really have the insight that maybe these are the kinds of people that you want to have recommendations. But we review these. Lynn and I both spend a lot of time looking at these, thinking about them, and making that the decision. Also, I will let you know that there are certain academic requirements for admission. We occasionally get an applicant who is maybe just below that level, and it may mean that. It doesn't mean automatically that that you get rejected. What it means is that we may ask you to come in, sit down, and talk to you to make an assessment whether or not you are the person for the program, and whether the program is for you. Thanks, Lynn.
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah, the slide does not note it, but our standard GPA required for admission to this program is 2.75. And if a student has a GPA that is below that, we do still encourage them to apply because we will consider you for admission. And we do sometimes have a process where we can admit a student on a conditional basis. That's someone who doesn't quite meet our standard, but we think shows academic potential and promise. So we may be willing to admit you on a conditional basis, even if you do not quite meet the GPA requirements. So yes, but we always encourage people to apply to be considered, even if you are a little bit below that level.
But again, that's just a little bit below. So if you've got a 2.0, sorry, but this is probably not the program for you.
Right. And to graduate with a graduate degree, you must have a 3.0 QPA throughout your program. So if you were at the undergraduate level only able to achieve a 2.0, our concern is, at the graduate level where you're being asked to do a higher level of work, it would be difficult for you to achieve that. So we have to have some standards to protect you in those cases. So, okay, great. Let's move along here. Okay, a big question many applicants have is how am I going to pay for this? There's no doubt that a graduate degree is an expense. I like to tell students that we have to think of it as an investment. It's an investment in yourself, an investment in your future, an investment in your own future earnings potential. We live in a world where so many people have bachelor's degrees today. It's kind of a standard credential. And more, if you want to stand out, you may find that a graduate degree will help you do that. So while there's certainly a considerable cost to it, there are ways to help make it more affordable. And we feel that Point Park is a great value for the reasons we've mentioned before, including the strong commitment of the faculty, the individualized learning experience that you'll get, that, it really does make the program an excellent value. Listed here on this slide are some options to help you pay for your degree. This is a 30 credit program, so that's one benefit. We have some degrees that are considerably more credits than this one. We do offer scholarships. We have a graduate merit scholarship, so students that have a 3.25 QPA or above will receive a graduate merit scholarship that will help defray your costs. We have payment plans available, interest-free payment plans. There's a small fee to sign up, but there's no interest charged on those. So if you like to spread payments out over the course of a semester or a year, you can do that. If you're one of those students who's fortunate enough to have employer reimbursement, we have a great tuition deferment option there. For students who have reimbursement through their employers, many times the employer does not pay until they see your grades. That's a fairly common policy for a lot of employers to follow. And if you are one of those employees, then you can sign up with our student accounts office and you can have your tuition deferred until the end of the semester. So you fill out a form, you pay a small fee, I think it's $45. And then once we verify that you're eligible for reimbursement, your tuition due date, say for the fall semester, which normally would be August 15th, your tuition due date will be in January or February after the employer gets grades, and then they would reimburse. And some employers reimburse based on the grade, so they pay 100% for an A, 90% for a B, whatever the case might be. Then you would be responsible for the remainder, and you could apply for financial aid or use a payment plan to cover your portion. But the deferment plan is a really nice option. That way you don't have to borrow money and pay up front. We basically can see your employer is going to reimburse, and so we extend the due date out for you for your tuition. We also offer tuition discount programs, and if you go to our website at pointpark.edu and in the white search box on the left, just type the words tuition discount, you'll see a page with a long list of tuition partners in the local Pittsburgh community. So this is essentially based on your employer. If you're fortunate enough to work for an employer that has a tuition discount arrangement with us, you can typically get, the typical discount is about 20% off tuition. Also, if you work for an employer that doesn't have, that is not a tuition partner, you can contact us. We can see if perhaps we can set something up. We're always willing to do that for employers who have employees interested in attending Point Park. So that's always an option as well. That would be something we would work out with your HR department typically, and we'd have to sign an agreement, but we do that all the time. So those tuition discount programs are nice. And again, you can speak to your employer about possibly making that an option if you are not a tuition partner at this time. The single biggest way that people pay for school is through loans. We typically encourage you to apply for financial aid at the time you apply for admission, and normally I will send the link to the FAFSA to complete. The good news is the FAFSA, the federal application for free student aid, is the only form you need to complete for financial aid at Point Park. We don't have additional scholarship applications or loan applications or anything like that. You just complete the FAFSA. And then the policy at Point Park is once you are admitted to the program, financial aid will package you, usually within a couple of weeks. Now, unless you apply really early, but typically once they start packaging for fall, which might be like in March, everyone will be packaged at that point. And then as students get admitted, you'll be packaged within a week or two of being admitted. You will be notified of your package, and that would include, for example, the graduate merit scholarship if you're eligible for that. And whatever loans you are eligible for. You may have borrowed money for your undergraduate degree. You do have additional money left as for graduate funding. So financial aid will be able to tell you how much that is if you're not sure. And it also can depend on how much you paid back as well. But graduate loans are fairly generous. So typically you would be able to, as long as you have not defaulted on a student loan or maxed out your funding, you should be eligible for loans to help fund your degree. I also do want to mention briefly that Point Park alumni are eligible for a 25% discount for this program. If no matter where you work, so if you apply and we see you're a Point Park alum, you will automatically get the 25% discount, and that will be above and beyond what any other scholarship would be. So when it comes to scholarships and discount, we always give you whichever one is the most value And for the alumni, that would be the 25% tuition discount. There's also a link there at the website, the pointpark.edu/grad financial aid there. You can check out financial aid options there. And we always encourage you, if you have more detailed questions about your situation, to contact our financial aid office. Any counselor there can help you and can give you a sense if you have a particular question about your family situation, marital situation that can affect income or things like that, you're welcome to call them. But at the graduate level, because there really aren't there aren't really federal grants for that, it's a little bit simpler. It's mostly just loans. I will also mention that Point Park does offer some small graduate grants based on need. And that's something a lot of schools do not do for graduate degrees, but we do. Have to have a certain income level, but you will be considered for everything, every kind of scholarship and the grant if you are eligible by doing the FAFSA. That's really the only thing you need to do. So it's a pretty simple process. And once you're admitted, you should hear from financial aid within a week or two to let you know what your financial aid package looks like.
I also wanted to comment on a couple of things. One is that, excuse me, if you are involved in law enforcement, there is a law enforcement discount for this program. Whether you meet the criteria does not necessarily mean that you have to be a law enforcement officer, but you have to be involved in law enforcement in some way. And I'm sure that the people at financial aid could tell you if you apply. The other thing is, Lynn made a comment about that, you know, it is an additional expense to go to graduate school, but I want you to understand that for a lot of jobs, particularly in the federal government, if you have a master's degree, you come in at a higher level than somebody with a bachelor's degree. So because of that, even if they move along the same pace that you do, that you will always be ahead of somebody with a bachelor's degree by having a graduate degree. And the money that you will earn more than will cover the program over the period of time. The other thing is, you may find that there are programs that appear to be less expensive. Maybe it's less per credit, but understand that because Point Park's program is a 3-semester program, 30 credits, that even if it's a little bit more, a lot of those other programs are 2-year programs. So you have to look at the end cost, because the end cost may be greater than the initial cost. So while it may appear the Point Park's program might be a little bit more expensive in some ways, in reality, when you do the math, it comes out to be less expensive. Thanks, Lynn.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, just a quick note on class schedules. This program is set up as a Saturday program. So as Professor Linzer said, it's 1 year, fall, spring, summer, typically is how the sequence runs. We'll show you that later. You do have a Saturday commitment, but the rest of, you only have to be on campus 1 day per week, and that is Saturday. We also use a very successful cohort model. We find with a lot of our programs, this is really helpful for students in their academic environment and providing support. You come in with a group of students, you take all your classes together, you're there for each other. And oftentimes, you know, the people in your cohort are also people either working in the field or who want to get into the field. And they come from oftentimes a great diversity of backgrounds. And we find that the students really form tight bonds with each other, and they learn from each other even as they learn together from the faculty. So it's a really good learning environment. And students, I know many times in the cohort programs, after students graduate, they stay in touch. They've worked together for a year. They may have done group projects together. They've collaborated throughout their time here. And those are, you know, great resources and friends that people will have through the future for networking and just allowing them to stay in touch with other people in their field. So faculty are a key part of that as well. But the cohort model really allows you to get, you know, to form those bonds with your cohorts. And we often find that the students really value that format as much as anything else.
We see that this usually within the cohort, the students usually create a chat room where they share assignments, they share problems, complain about me. But the idea is that it's a matter of support. Look, this graduate school is not like undergraduate. Undergraduate, you can get through basically if you show up and pay attention. Graduate program requires more work. It requires, work on your own. It requires work outside the classroom. And because you work as a cohort, we find that people serve as support for each other. Sometimes I'll find out from somebody else in the cohort that there's an issue that I should be aware of, and it gives me the opportunity as the director to be able to sit down with the student or students and to resolve any problems or any personal issues as well. The Saturday classes are nice in that you are here all day Saturday, but the Saturday classes are nice for a couple reasons. First of all, you don't have to deal with traffic during the week. Secondly, parking is a lot less expensive. The parking garages on either side of the university are $6 for the day on the weekends. And the building is not full, so it gives you an opportunity to have access that you don't have to basically share with anybody else except the other graduate students who are there. So it's really a good opportunity. And when you travel from group to group to group, it makes it a lot easier than seeing different people in your class every time. Although we do have students who are, taking some courses, not all the courses, and occasionally you will have students who come in and out of your different programs to join your cohort. Thanks.
Very good. Yes. Yeah. I know I've worked with some cohorts where we have multiple sections running at the same time, and students get very, very upset if they don't get to stay with their cohort. That's how close, people become. And as Professor Linzer said, it's a great support system for that really everybody benefits from. And if you do have to miss a class or something comes up, you've got people there that have your back that can help you out and help fill in the blanks if you miss something or you need a little extra help. And it really, really enhances the learning environment. I think for everybody, the cohort model is great. Not every program uses it, but I think the ones that do, I think the students really, really value that experience.
I had a student who had some issues who came to see me. And while I met with him and I worked with him, I said, look, you need to rely on your fellow students. And he was sort of taken aback that I would have said, go to your fellow students. But after meeting with them and working with them, he realized that what bond it created and was able to surmount. This was a student who had come back to school after about 10 years of being out of school. And I think he was a little concerned because some of the students were younger. But after working with them and creating this relationship, it really was, he wrote me a letter after he left telling me that while he was, originally put off by it, he realized the significance of a cohort.
Mm, it's a great story. Yeah, it's a really powerful tool. And I think until people have been in that setting, they don't understand what a benefit it can be, but it absolutely is for sure. Great. Okay. So now I'm going to turn things over a little bit more fully to Professor Linzer. The next couple slides address some of the course content, the program sequence, and alumni. And so, Professor Linzer, I'll let you take over this part.
Sure. Some of the things that are listed give you an idea as to exactly the areas of our focus. I want you to understand that while this program is called Criminal Justice Administration, this program is not solely for criminal justice people. You don't have to decide that you want to be a police officer or that you want to be in security or that you want to be in probation or parole. The very nature of the class, we probably should call it administration and in parentheses criminal justice, because we do see students, and when we talk about some of the students who've been successful in our program and moved on, you'll see that some of these people have no relationship on their daily basis with criminal justice, but because of classes such as management, policy, organizational behavior, economics, And also one of the things that's very important is there's a thread that runs through this entire program, and that's an issue of ethics. And those programs and those classes really help you to take a leadership role as an administrator, whether it's in law enforcement or probation or parole. I mean, when we have students who come in, we see students who come in who are police officers, supervisory police officers, probation officers, drug and alcohol counselors, which really, I guess, to some extent, you may say that's not a criminal justice field, that is a social services field. But we find that sometimes when they leave, they're leaving for a new direction in their career. They're leaving for a direction in something more than just criminal justice. Of course, we also have students who come in and that's what they want to do. And this program helps them attain their goals of being involved in criminal justice. We have a class, when we talk about classes in a little bit, one is the capstone class, where the students do a long paper with a presentation and their advanced research and their basic research and their writing classes help them prepare. One of the students who came in, she was a business major in undergraduate, came in with the idea of moving into criminal justice. For her capstone program, did a paper and an analysis on faith-based programs at the Allegheny County Jail. She went up, she met with some of the former inmates, she met with the people from the program, and was so impressed with the program, and they were so impressed with her that when she graduated, they offered her a job as an administrator in the faith-based programs in the Allegheny County Jail. So we see a morphing of what people do or don't want to do. We see people who come through our program who ultimately go with banks and work in their security programs. And I'm not talking about somebody standing at the bank checking to see whether you're carrying a weapon, but in fraud, credit card fraud, loan fraud, these kinds of situations. So the program, even though it's called Criminal Justice Administration, is just not solely designed for the person who wants to be a law enforcement supervisor. But it really gives you an opportunity to grow things like management, policy, organizational behavior. I mean, these are really the building blocks of a well-balanced administrative professional. If we could go to the next slide, Lynn, where we have the classes. You'll see that we have a lot of different classes here. Each term we have 3 classes. What happens is that in the morning, we are usually looking at the professional research and writing classes. The person who teaches that class currently, beside being a PhD, beside being a person who's a faculty member at another university, is also a former federal law enforcement officer. She brings with her her background and experience, both as a law enforcement professional and as an educator. The Criminal Justice Administration and Management class is taught by somebody who's not only has a PhD in psychology, but also has a law degree. So you get an approach not only from the aspect of law, but you get an aspect of psychology as well, how to approach some of these issues. I teach the theories of criminology class. And obviously, as I told you, my background is as a prosecutor, but I also work for some of the larger firms here in the city of Pittsburgh. I work for Eckert Siemens, which is a large regional firm. I work for Reed Smith and K&L Gates, which are both international firms. So I look at it from the standpoint of how crimes take place. We talk about things like not just for learning from the standpoint of how crimes take place, but we talk about potential solutions, how we can take what we know and reach different solutions. Those are the fall classes. In the spring, we are looking at politics, policy, and criminal justice, ethics, and advanced research. The advanced research is taught by the same person who teaches the original research writing, because it becomes a transitional thing, moving from one program into the advanced research. That writing is something that you carry with you through all of the different programs. The politics and policy, again, taught by the same person who's both a lawyer and a psychologist. I teach the ethical issues, and we talk about things that are very much of the day. We talk about discriminatory acts by police. We talk about, you know, crimes that are perpetrated by people in the communities. And it ties with the theories of criminology, because we need to know not only why people are committing crimes, but ethically how we can handle them. We talk about ethics in the criminal justice system, not only of law enforcement officers, but defense lawyers, prosecutors, judges. Understanding that in all of the classes that I've discussed, you will be doing weekly assignments. You will be doing weekly readings. You will be doing a paper, and you will be doing a presentation. Every faculty member does it a little bit differently. So for instance, in the writing classes, you will be submitting sectional writing of one paper. In the other classes, we either give you a topic. In my classes, I let you pick your topic with approval, because I want you to have ownership of what you write about. And they vary. It really goes from situation to situation. In the summer classes, in the first 2 terms, you will have legal issues and the capstone. We do offer the chance to do a thesis, but most people want to take the capstone. Our legal issues class is taught normally by one of the administrative judges of Common Pleas Court here in Allegheny County. He not only has a text that he uses, but gives you readings. You discuss the practicalities of it. He was unavailable this summer, so I taught the legal issues. And we talk about things like immigration. We talk about things like ransomware. We talk about things that are happening on a daily basis. Sometimes this summer I almost felt guilty. I gave an assignment on ransomware, and the next day in the paper there was an article about the ransomware of the pipeline and how it affected it. We talked about issues of immigration, and it turns out to be there. We talked about mass shootings, for instance, and they turn out to, we had a mass shooting the next day. Although the way things are lately, that could almost go for any day. The capstone class is something that is a little more than an 8-week class. Yeah, the legal issues is 8 weeks. The capstone I usually give for 12 weeks. We have classes where we talk about things that are very of the moment, but we also I give students an additional 4 weeks to do their paper, because it's an extensive paper and the issues are all over the board. I mean, we've had things from, police officers talking about shootings in schools. One of the students / law enforcement officers who did this became so into it that he is now giving presentations to different school districts, and actually did a presentation with the superintendent of schools that encompassed Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. One of the students talked about, who's with the city of Pittsburgh Police, talked about in his paper policing in the 21st century. So all of these things are very, very up to date and of the moment. The legal issues class also, I failed to mention, we also talk about the criminal justice system, so that somebody graduating from a criminal justice administration program knows the system well. Organizational behavior in criminal justice this summer is being taught by someone who has a PhD, who also teaches in our intelligence studies program. And um, we really talk about how the structures take place in law enforcement and communities, and how what you learn can affect how you act and what you do. The economics of criminal justice class this term is being taught by someone with a PhD who has a background in economics, who happens to be the acting registrar at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. And it's basically to understand the economic systems that are in play here in the United States, and also the economic impact of how it's easy to say, let's hire more police, let's buy this, let's buy that, but we need to talk about how this affects it economically. So the program is a full program. It's diverse, and it gives you a lot. It gives you a lot of training as an administrator in leadership, and basically how you deal with people. Comments, Lynn?
Yeah, just one question I had, Professor Linzer.
Sure.
So the student has a choice between the thesis or the capstone seminar. And I know you mentioned you're doing a paper for both of those. Could you talk about just a little bit more detail, like what the difference is between those two?
Sure. The thesis has to be 100 pages. Okay. And it's something that I work with the individual student on. But they're pretty much, it's almost like an independent type of work. The capstone paper is usually 25 pages, includes the presentation, and also this has the class with the current current issues, I guess contemporary issues. I've been in charge of the program since 2015. I've yet to have a student say to me, "Ooh, I'd rather write a 100-page paper than to do a 25-page paper and be part of my cohort."
And is the capstone seminar, is that typically done as a group then, the project?
Well, interestingly
Or
enough, initially it was conceived to be a project. And my predecessor had a project done with at the courthouse. And the problem is this, that you have to commit so many hours per week when you do it as a group project. I think she was having them commit 8 or 10 hours a week. And the problem is that most of our students work. And to be able to do it is problematic. The other issue is that when you have a group project, you have to work on that project, and it may not be something of your interest. By the capstone paper gets approved, you submit a topic and then I approve it. And we had them all over the board. As I mentioned to you, 3 of them, with violence in learning institutions, law enforcement in the 21st century, faith-based programs. But one person that we had a couple of years ago was engaged to a corrections officer, and she did a study on being a corrections officer, not from the standpoint this is what you do, but social impact, psychological impact, because it gave her a better idea of where she wanted to be. We have had students talk about the effects of observing violence in video games, where that student went out and interviewed people who are working at video stores to determine what their policies were on the sale of video games. People, the impact on parents, on children. I mean, the spread of different topics has just been amazing. We've had people. There's a gentleman who's a detective with the Allegheny County Police Department who did his paper, and he's now working, by the way, as on a task force with the FBI. He did his paper on the difference between the Fourth Amendment and the USA Patriot Act. He went out and he interviewed the head of the ACLU. The idea being is that I want the student to write about something that they have an interest in. I just had a meeting with one of our students today working on her paper. She is doing her paper on incarcerated females who are pregnant, either coming into the system as being pregnant, or in some cases pregnant because of conjugal visits or because of being raped in the institution, and how the different programs in the institution are impacted by this. So you can see there's probably more variety and more opportunity to be unique and independent with the capstone than there is with a group project.
Yeah, that's an incredible range of topics for sure.
I usually give the students 25 topics as suggestions. Out of that 25, I very rarely see anybody who takes those topics, but it usually is an impetus for them to come up with their own topic.
Great. Okay. All right. And this is this is a slide showing just a few of our alumni. These alumni are all listed on our website, and Professor Linzer, you, I'm sure, know some of these fine folks.
Actually, I know almost every one of them, almost everyone except Aletha Bush has been my student. She came in under my predecessor. Scott Schubert, who's the chief of police for the city of Pittsburgh, and Eric Holmes, who is his chief of staff, are both graduate students. Scott was an undergraduate student at Point Park as well. Eric had gone someplace else as for his undergraduate degree. And these are people who we have daily contact with. And because of our contact and our experience with them, they are sometimes more than willing to go out of their way for Point Park students, to give them, not necessarily to become a police officer, because that's a set test, but sometimes they may need a little help with a particular program, or maybe they're working with the department, as an internship or whatever, and they have contact. Marita Bryant, who just retired as the assistant superintendent of Allegheny County Police, had formerly been a commander with the city of Pittsburgh. Marita was also an undergraduate and graduate student at Point Park. Marita is a very interesting story. She had started out cleaning floors she was a single mother. The only job she could get was cleaning floors at the U.S. Steel building. She and her sister decided that they were going to both take the police exam. They took the police exam, they became police officers, and Marita realized the importance of having an education. And because of that, she went back to school for undergraduate, then decided to go into the graduate program. Annie Fiffick, who's a food pantry director at Community Health Services, is one of those people who started out in one area and completely changed her approach. Annie worked at the Western Penn as a counselor. When Western Penn moved and relocated when it was closed down, she was offered a position someplace else and chose not to. She went into social services. She became the food pantry director at Community Health Services, and now is in the PhD program at Point Park in community service. So this is somebody who, even though she's not involved in criminal justice administration, the courses like management, organizational behavior really helped her move into an organizational structure. Michael Cruz is somebody who came back to school after being out of school for more than, I think, 15 years. He came to Pittsburgh from the West Coast because he wanted to go into our program. He left, and now he is back in the Seattle area as the clinical supervisor for jail diversion. He had originally been a juvenile probation officer. Fred Livingston is a police officer. He's the one that I told you did the presentation on violence at schools. And Fred was also a Point Park undergrad. He was somebody who told me that, well, actually, if I go down the list, Scott Schubert, Eric Holmes, Mike Cruz, Fred Livingston, and Mike Spagnoletti are all people who said to me, I wish I would have done this right out of school. Okay. Mike Spagnoletti was a community relations and crime prevention officer for the Allegheny County Police. He's now retired and is now teaching. We see that a lot of our students are inspired enough with the program and with education to go back into education. Of this list, 3 of the people are teaching, and of this list, 3 of the people have gone on for higher educational degrees. Eric Holmes, for instance, was a fellow at Carnegie Mellon in their community service area while working as the chief of staff. So you can see when you look at these are some pretty, impressive people. These are not just people who are, who have a job. These people are all people who have attained a high level of administrative responsibility in their different programs. Okay.
For sure. Thank you. Yeah, it's an impressive array, and that's just a few. There are plenty of other ones on our website too.
Yeah, and I would suggest that the students might want to look at the website where they can see questions and answers about some of our graduates and see what they're doing. I mean, we have people who graduated from this program who are working in healthcare for medical practices, doing fraud investigations. So it's really an opportunity to see a large group by looking at the website.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, that's pretty much the end of our presentation for the day. I'm going to put up this slide that has both of our contact information. So if you're watching this video and would like to address either of us with any questions about the program, admissions, anything along those lines, you're welcome to contact us. Email is probably the best way to do that, but you can also leave a message and we'll get back to you as well if we're not in the office at the time that you call. We do start in one group each fall in this program. So we are enrolling students for fall of 21 currently, and we would encourage anyone who's checking out the video now to please consider applying for the fall term. We'd love to have you, and we'll work with you to get you to the point of registration. And Professor Linzer, do you have any closing comments?
The only comment that I would make is this: if you're thinking about it, do it. This is not the kind of, we see students who sometimes mull it over and they say, well, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. It's the kind of thing that from your educational benefit, from your professional benefit, from your financial benefit, it's really a worthwhile program. Education is never lost. I mean, it's the one investment, and I do believe that it's an investment. It's the one investment that you make where you never fall behind. You never go, I bought a car and now it's deteriorating. It's the kind of thing where it yields benefit to you year after year after year. I mean, I'm a Point Park alum. I graduated more years ago than I care to remember. But the investment that I made as an undergrad, I mean, I went to the University of Akron School of Law, and the money that I invested in my education has come back to me many, many, many times. And it's not just a question of money. It also it's very rewarding. What we do and what we teach and what we discuss are things that have a really high level of reward to you personally and also to your community. So if you have questions, contact us. We'll be glad to get in touch with you. We'll set up, if you want, we'll set up a video call where we can sit down and talk, and you'll get one or both of us, or maybe somebody else will, if we need to answer those questions. So please don't hesitate. Thanks, Lynn.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we're always happy to help our prospective students, and we know that information is the key to making a good decision about the program. So I hope that you found this video useful, and as we said, we hope to hear from you soon to learn more about this program. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for watching.
All right, I think that's all.
I think it was okay.
Yeah, I think it was great.
Okay.
We did a whole hour, so that's good.
Well, we got a late start, but
yeah,
a
lot of good information.
lawyers start to talk, it's hard to shut everybody.
Right.
Well, you have a good week.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you, Richard. Thanks for participating. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lynn. I'm sure
You have a
we'll be
good
in touch.
holiday.
Thanks, you too.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Take care. Bye-bye.